Episode 41 of the Sports Marketing Machine podcast. Jeremy Nizer here with you. Super excited about this episode for you to take a listen to. Dr. J.J. Peterson from Marketing Made Simple, the podcast, and he wrote the book. We're going to talk today about the StoryBrand framework and how teams can use it to position themselves as a way to be able to help customers, how businesses solve their problems. This is very unique in a way that's marketing and messaging that's a little bit different than how sports teams are currently using it, but a lot of sports teams are starting to use it. In fact, the Savannah Bananas as well. So here we go, our marketing and messaging lesson with Dr. J.J. Peterson. Welcome to the Sports Marketing Machine podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Nizer. Today, super excited about today's guest, Dr. J.J. Peterson. Dr. J.J. Peterson wrote the book, Marketing Made Simple, also co-wrote the book, Building a StoryBrand, host of the Marketing Made Simple podcast, and professor at Vanderbilt University. And we're going to talk marketing today, specifically about messaging. So I appreciate you coming on. This is kind of unique to talk sports and marketing at the same time.
Oh, I'm so excited about it. Thanks for having me, Jeremy.
You got it. So let's start off, because this is going to be such a unique concept that sports marketing directors have never heard of. What is StoryBrand?
Yeah, so StoryBrand is a framework which helps you create clear messaging. So that's really kind of the bottom line. Is so many companies and organizations have marketing and messaging that really overwhelms people, confuses people, and we take people through a framework that we call the StoryBrand framework and help people create a clear message. And that framework is, you could probably tell by the name, is based on story. So it basically teaches people how story works, because all of our brains understand, the human brain understands how story works. We love stories, we love movies, we love books, and there's a reason. It's because they're actually story formula. When you understand how story works, the story formula helps writers, creators, authors take a ton of information that's out there and distill it down in a way that makes a story interesting, engaging, and clear. And that's true for movies, that's true for books, but it's also true when it comes to marketing, that if you understand how story works and use story in an effective way, then you actually become more engaging to your audience.
Got it. So when you start to invite customers, in our case, fans, into a story, it's less about us and it's more about them, right?
Absolutely. And that's, I think, one of the biggest mistakes people make in marketing is they think that you are the hero. Your business, your organization, your club is the hero of the story. And the reality is your customer or your fan is the hero of the story. And the reason is because every one of us wakes up every day as the hero of our own story. I do, you do, right? We wake up as the hero of our own story. And if I'm the hero of my story and you as a brand or a team position yourself as a hero of your story, now we're in competing stories. And we actually want organizations, teams, businesses to position themselves as the guide in their customer story. So when we're talking about writing a story, what we're saying is, how do you create words in your marketing that positions your customer as the hero and you as the guide? How do you invite your customer into a story that they get to be the hero of? Which seems a little odd for especially, sports teams, right? Because if traditionally a sports team is the hero, right? Like we all, in fact, we're not even living our own story. We're living the story of the team, right? We live or die every weekend, by whether that team wins or loses, and we really are following them. And so that's kind of the traditional model. But the reality is, as ticket prices are going up and up and up, and people are having to spend, especially if you want to take a family to a sporting event, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I really believe that teams are going to have to shift the way that they do marketing in order to continue reaching their fans in whole new ways. And I think they need to position their fans as the hero. And, we've seen this very recently. One of the biggest success stories in this would be the Savannah Bananas.
Mm-hmm.
If you just look at what's happening in the Savannah Bananas world, which Savannah Bananas actually came through StoryBrand.
Really?
So years ago, about 7 years ago, Jesse Cole came to a StoryBrand workshop for people who are in this world probably know, I don't get to talk about them very often, but you guys probably all know who the Savannah Bananas are. If you don't, you need to look them up right now. But they are just amazing at positioning their fans as the hero of the team. And, they've positioned everything of just walked in and said, how do we say this game is about you? This is about your fun. This is about your experience. And they're selling out, nationwide tours, if not world tours, and they're huge TikTok stars and everything. But if everybody listening is going, well, how do you position your customer as the hero? The first person I would point you to is look at the Savannah Bananas, and they're reaping huge rewards because of it.
Yep. I recently had their general manager, their president, Jared Orton on, and Jared said, hey, and he repeated something that a Chick-fil-A guy taught us all. And he says, how you view things drives how you do things. So if you think your job is to just sell tickets, those are the ideas you're going to pursue. But if your job is X or Y, those are the ideas you're going to pursue. And it was all about thinking about it when you had a meeting. If there was a fan sitting in your office right now, would you be saying the things that you're talking about, or would it be something completely different? So that's great that the framework of how the Savannah Bananas got to where they are today started from StoryBrand. So that's fantastic.
Well, I don't know that it started there. Jesse was already doing great work before he came to us, but then I think it really just solidified and took things to the next level. Beyond what he had that idea when it came to how they played the games and how they entertained, but really where it changed is how they positioned themselves on their website, how they talked about themselves in emails and lead generators. So he was already kind of fans first baseball, but really when he came to us, he started creating his marketing to actually reflect fans first mentality.
That's such a great takeaway. So let's go through a couple examples. So if I work for the Nashville Sounds right down the road from you, and I'm trying to get companies to book group outings, so they've got 20 or more, 25 or more, they want to do a summer picnic or whatever it is. Oftentimes it's, hey, book your group outing, book your summer picnic. That's the messaging that we typically do. But you're saying, hey, let's take 2 steps back and think about it a little bit more. What would be the next step?
The next step really is identifying. So when we talk about the StoryBrand framework, there are really 7 messaging points that need to be developed to create your customer story. And these are them. I'll kind of go through them really quickly. The first one is, in any good story, you have to know what the hero wants. Very early on in a movie, a hero wants something. And so, Jason Bourne wants to know where he came from, right? There's one thing. It can't be a lot of different things. Then the next thing that happens in a good story is the hero encounters a problem. And that means that they want, Jason Bourne wants to know who he is, but all of a sudden somebody's chasing him and wants to kill him, right? The rest of the movie really is about him overcoming that problem and getting what he wants. Those 2 pieces are really the most important in a story. And I'll come back to those when it comes to marketing to answer your question. Then the way the story formula continues to work is that the hero has to meet someone who helps them win the day. We call that person a guide. That's the 3rd step in good story. So Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke Skywalker, Haymitch in Hunger Games, somebody who's older, wiser, comes alongside and helps the hero win. Then the 4th step is the hero gets a plan. The guide always gives them a plan to move forward and win the day. Then there's a moment that the hero has to be called to action. There's usually like a ticking time bomb or a countdown clock that is going to force the hero to action. And then there's kind of been this foreshadowing of the last 2 things that make a good story, which we call success and failure. So we know that the hero can have a tragic ending, that everything could fall apart, everybody could die, the hero dies, he doesn't get what he wants or she doesn't get what he wants, or it can end in success, it can have a happy ending, and that's been foreshadowed. So those 7 elements, a hero wants something, encounters a problem, meets a guide that gives them a plan, calls them to action that results in either success or failure is every movie, every book you've ever read, right?
Yep.
It's just, that's how good story works. So when we take those principles and apply it to your customers or your fans, the first thing we have to identify is those first two pieces. What is it that they want, and what problem is getting in the way for them? That is what invites a customer into a beautiful story. That's what makes customers pay attention to your marketing. That's what hooks people in a story, in a movie, and it hooks people in your marketing. So you asked, say the Sounds just down the road, who also have been through the StoryBrand framework. They also came to our workshop. So the Sounds came and they want to sell more tickets for group outings, specifically to corporate buyers. Mm-hmm. What you have to do when you're thinking about marketing is identify the person who's going to be buying that. So probably HR or the president or something like that. Mm-hmm. Identify and literally write down on a piece of paper, what is it that they want? They don't want tickets to a game.
No, that's not what they want.
That's not what they want. They want to celebrate as a team. They want to unify their team. They want to reward the work that's happening. They want camaraderie and unity built, right? Mm-hmm. So you need to write down, and there's 20 things you could write down for that. You need to pick one. You need to pick one. Mm-hmm. Now you go, all right, so let's say you want to unite your team and build camaraderie. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now you have to identify what is the problem that gets in the way of unity and camaraderie. You know, mm-hmm. So the problem is most of us just spend time at work together and don't ever actually buy into relationship. Or most corporate events that you go to, or most corporate team building relies on trust falls and rope courses to try to build something, and everybody hates those, right?
Yep, we've all done those. Yep.
Exactly. And so when you start out an email or you start a sales pitch, not with, hey, bring your team for a fun night where you can enjoy a baseball game, that's making you the hero of the story. Mm-hmm. Instead, you say you're looking for an opportunity to unite your team and get better work out of everybody. The problem is most corporate trainings are actually boring and nobody wants to be a part of it. Mm-hmm. I've named what you want and I've named the problem. Now you go into the rest of the story. So what kind of plan do we have for you? What type of, ticket prices or packages? What's a call to action I can give and say, hey, if you sign up by this date, you're going to get 5 free tickets, or you're going to, give me a countdown clock.
First pitch or whatever it is. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah. Give me something like if you sign up by November 1st, you're going to get to throw out the first pitch. And then say, so throw in a little failure or success in there, right? And so what does their life look like if they come and they get what they want? So your team's going to be united. You're going to have more fun. You're going to be able to keep people with retention. Right now, retention is a huge problem. And you're going to stop losing people. You're going to actually build community and camaraderie on your team. Right. So that's the kind of thing we're talking about. Instead of saying, hey, we have a great series coming up between these two great teams and we have fireworks that are going to go off after the game. Right. And we No, don't talk about yourself. Talk about what they want out of it and use your team as a way for them to get it.
That's such great points, because you could use it for single game ticket sales, trying to get families to buy tickets to the fireworks game, or companies to do your corporate outings on the fireworks games, or whatever it may be. And then it translates also into social media a little bit, specifically Absolutely. Creating content. So how would you be able to articulate that? You just kind of create some video content around this, or what's a recommendation here?
Yeah, so when we're working with a company, what we're really doing is we're sitting down and helping them identify those 7 talking points for their story, of the things I talked about. Then when you're creating social media, you have this almost like a brand Bible, right? That you're going to use, and you pull pieces out. So you might specifically talk about one social media post comes out of the problem language. So struggling to find this, worried about this, right? Or it may come out of the success, like unite your team, keep increase retention. And so you don't have to tell the full story on social media. You're just pulling from one piece or 2 pieces of the brand script of the story. But when you have that story all the way through and you have that brand script, is what we call it, those 7 talking points, then when you're hitting them on social media and you're hitting them in emails and you're hitting them in radio ads or videos you're sending out, it's all a unified message. So they're hearing the same message over and over and over. And I would argue that marketing is about memorization.
Yep.
So if you can actually get people to memorize your message over and over again, then they're more likely to enter into that story and buy those tickets and come to your event.
Yeah, so you're using all 7 in all of your messaging that you're doing. I mean, it's pretty simple. So next topic here, we're going to talk about email newsletter, but I want to make sure we get back to where folks can download their own StoryBrand script, who they could work with. So I want to make sure we talk about that. But in one of your most recent podcast episodes, you talked about newsletters. Every website's got sign up for an email newsletter, and sports teams are notorious for this. But at the end of the day, no one wants to sign up for an email newsletter, right?
Yes. Yeah, we say this all the time. Nobody wants your newsletter. Now, here's the thing, is that your newsletter may have a ton of information in it. It may be great, and people may, who actually sign up for it, open it and love it. That's not what we're saying when we say nobody's reading your newsletter, nobody wants to read your newsletter. If you just call it a newsletter, that's making the story about you again, right? It's because what it's saying is we have news that you need to know about us versus something like the fan favorite email or the weekly updates that keep you informed, something like that. Just changing the name a little bit, which also then will help change the content and focus it on your fans a little bit more. Instead of just saying, here's some moves we're making or here's some deals that are coming up for us, you're really trying to think the whole time is, what value can I give to my fans on a regular basis? Can I give them, a lot of them are looking for insider information. A lot of them are looking for tips or tricks before anybody else gets it, right? They're looking for interviews with the players. Things like that, that probably a lot of people are already putting in their newsletters. They're just calling them newsletters. You're going to get so many more emails if you don't call it a newsletter. And call it something that is fan focused and actually points out the value that they're going to get when they get those emails.
Now, you recommend testing it out. Maybe have a lead generator, like a downloaded PDF or maybe a discount or whatever it may be, right? You want to test it a bunch of different times.
Yeah, test the titles. You can do a couple, like what we'd call A/B testing in marketing. Everybody in marketing knows this, right? What we actually recommend is when you're first starting out, if you've never done this before, is create 2 landing pages. Create 2 separate landing pages that people can come and sign up for the different newsletters, that different titles that you're giving newsletters or different lead generators, and then test that with using paid advertisements. So put in a little bit of money in Facebook or Instagram or wherever your fans are hanging out, and then see which one gets more downloads and more signups. Now, if it's 50-50, then you just kind of get to make a choice. But if one purely outperforms the other one or clearly outperforms the other one, then just get rid of the other, name it that, and go with it from there.
Yeah, just right off the top of my head, going back to our example with the Nashville Sounds of doing corporate outings or booking a group, here's a download of, hey, 7 things you should make sure you do as you plan, or culture related, or things like that are specifically focused on them. That's where we're headed, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's anytime what we're really talking about is value. What value can you bring? And newsletter in and of itself, unless you're a diehard fan, doesn't have quote unquote value to it. So if you can give tips, if you can give tricks, if you can give insider information, taking it out of this context, taking it out of, say, the sports context, this would be like, say for a real estate agent, they would say, 5 things you need to think about before buying a house, or 5 things that will up the value of your house before you sell it. Now, take that kind of mindset and go, what does that look like for my fans, right? What is that kind of thing where I can offer them something where they can save money or make money or get inside information so they sound smarter than everybody else around the water cooler at work, right? Like, what is it that they want and what value can we offer them up front? And they are more likely to give you their email address when it's value based than it just information based.
Yeah, a lot of the email newsletter signups, they're getting like a 0.5% of people filling out the form. And on average, sports teams convert it like 3% from visitors to buying tickets. So you're only collecting 0.5%. Doing something like this is going to jump it up significantly. You're not going to see 60%. You're not going to see that, but it's going to go from your 0.5% to maybe 3 to 5 or even 6%, right? We're talking incrementally.
Incremental, because you're going to get more people giving you their email address, and you're getting excuse me, you're going to be getting more people giving you their email address, which means that then you're going to be able to send them more emails down the line. And if your emails are also value driven and giving them and telling a more clear story, then you're going to get a higher percentage there. So you're always looking at, in these contexts for me, of which dials do we have control over that we can just turn a little bit and see how they work. So starting with the lead generator, changing that up, or doing multiple ones and testing them, getting it out there, you're going to get more email addresses. Then doing email or customer specific campaigns with emails, you're going to get a little bit better. Changing your website to send people to sections on your website that are specifically telling the story to that customer, going to increase even a little bit more. So, imagine if you really were able to increase each of those spots by just like 2 or 3%, 2 or 3% more emails, 2 or 3 more percent getting people to your website, 2 or 3 more percent from that of then website of ticket conversion. You're talking a huge amount of money ultimately down the line.
Yep, absolutely. And that's something that I always talk about is there's no home run. There's no one thing that you do that's going to fix. It's a bunch of, using baseball, bunch of singles, bunch of little base hits, and you put it all together. It all add up to making it more successful.
Especially if you're talking about long-term success. There may be one quick campaign that all of a sudden, oh my gosh, this one did great in this moment. Sure. Great. Fantastic. Like right now, when Messi comes to town to play soccer, it's going to be a home run for every marketer.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. There you go. Yep.
Or I guess not home run, a penalty kick score. I don't know. But, when Messi comes to town, you're not going to have trouble selling tickets, right? So you're going to have these moments where like it's going to be super easy and you're going to be able to sell out and not have to worry about it. However, when we're talking over the long terms of a season or the long term or even down years, especially, that's like the biggest thing is like when teams are doing great, or there's huge draws that are coming to town, that's fine. You're probably going to sell out every game, and that's fantastic. You have to be thinking about the next couple years when you might not be doing as well. And ultimately in those downturns, what's going to save you is those emails that you got in the good years. So get those email addresses, create strong campaigns around them. And then when you have some downturns, you already have everything banked up.
Has the major league teams ever been to any StoryBrand events that you've put on?
I'm trying to think. We've had an NBA team, we've had multiple college teams, and we've had a lot of minor league teams. We had the Nashville Soccer Club here in town came as well. So we've had major league, we have soccer, basketball, and I don't think we've had any pro football, hockey, or baseball that I'm aware of, but definitely minor league teams in college.
Yeah, and it makes so much sense for the minor league teams in college because these guys are getting a lot of student athletes or even professional players that people just don't know who they are. So selling the specific, like the major league level, you know who the major stars are. You know who Carrie Underwood married, right? So everybody knows, right? So at the minor league level and specifically college as well, this makes so much more sense. But there's a lot of teams on the major league level that implementing some of these would build a better relationship with their fan base for sure. So yeah.
And we even have a guy on our staff who used to work for the Cubs, and he came in and was just, same kind of thing, was just saying, holy cow, if they understood how to actually position their fans first and their customers as the hero of the story, they would sell out even more. Even again, in those down years, especially, we've seen recently, even in, the Major League playoffs, where attendance for a certain team who will not be mentioned was incredibly low. It was historically low. Well, I'm curious. I don't know their marketing, but I doubt they did most of these things. They were not building a fan base, and they were not positioning their fans first in all of this. And it reflected when it came to crunch time. They made it to the playoffs, and nobody showed up.
It is disappointing across the board for major league teams and other markets as well. It's just disappointing for sure. All right, so if teams want to download their own StoryBrand script, where would they go to be able to get this?
Yeah, so the easiest place to get this would be storybrand.com/SB7. And that stands for the StoryBrand 7 framework. So storybrand.com/SB7. And what you'll do there is you'll just kind of go through process signing up, and you will get access to our online brand script. So this is just the tool that we use. I use this with all the companies all over the world to write down and create our customer stories. So there's boxes on there that say, identify what your customer wants, identify the problems your customer is experiencing, how do you position yourself as a guide, what's your plan, how do you call them to action, and what does success and failure look like? And really what you do then is you create just one clear, cohesive story that you can use, like we said, in all of your marketing, your website, your emails, your social media, videos, everywhere. You can use one clear story. And, you brought up that you may have corporate clients, or you may have families, or you may have, student athletes, or students just that you're trying to bring in. And you can create stories for each of those, right? One specific kind of campaign that targets each of those different groups of people. And then we also have live workshops where we do, it's live stream workshops where you can come, and over 2 days, you can actually work with a StoryBrand coach who over 2 days, you'll be in a kind of a cohort of other businesses and a coach who will help you actually go through and create this yourself. And you can go find that at storybrand.com/livestream.
Yeah, the live streams are great. I ended up signing up with a StoryBrand guide, so you also have those as well. The StoryBrand guide helped me put together my StoryBrand script, everything together, actually helped me with a website, and we went in depth on a lot of areas. So where would they find if they wanted to hire a StoryBrand guide?
Yeah, so if you wanted to go through it yourself, that's kind of the things that I was talking about. If you want to hire somebody who will create the marketing for you or with you, you can go to marketingmadesimple.com, and that's our directory that has all the people who we certify in the StoryBrand framework.
Fantastic. And your podcast, Marketing Made Simple, you and April have a absolute blast, and you're bringing on StoryBrand guides, and you're doing examples and you're doing a lot of different stuff. So you want to talk really quick about your podcast? I'd love for folks to tune in.
Yeah, our whole goal with Marketing Made Simple is really just to give people tips and suggestions and examples of marketing that is easy to create and works. And so, we might bring on a realtor, and you're not in the realtor space.
Yep.
But you're going to be able to listen and get a whole bunch of tips on emails and websites and campaigns and messaging and everything. So we have a lot of fun with it, but it's also really our whole goal with all of it is we're going to give you marketing that's easy to create and we know works.
And we all know when you confuse, you lose. I think Donald coined that phrase. So
yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, JJ, I appreciate it. Marketing Made Simple. You can go online, find the guide. StoryBrand framework is StoryBrand/SB7, and then the Marketing Made Simple podcast. JJ, appreciate it. Appreciate everything that you and April do, and Donald. And I'm a huge fan, and will continue to be, because it's changed my business, and I'm a one-man band over here. So it's been marvelous. So just appreciate you all and appreciate everything that you do.
Thanks so much, Jeremy.
All righty. I'm going to stop recording here.